very fascinating when you read the Gospel of Mark, how quickly it goes through the life of Jesus, the ministry of Jesus Christ. And as you read Mark chapter 6, as you read the first part of it, you see that Jesus was rejected in his hometown, which of, being, yes, he is God, but he's also fully man. That would have made him feel pretty sad and dejected, being rejected by his own countrymen, by his own people that he grew up with. But then he sent out his disciples 2 by 2, and they had a great ministry time. They had many victories. This was a spiritually alive time for them and for Jesus as well. I bet this made him feel joyful about what God was doing through his disciples. But then there came a time in which the last Old Testament prophet, one in whom they looked up to, whom Jesus looked up to, whom Jesus was actually related to, Jesus' cousin, John the Baptist, was beheaded by Herod. And so that's where we pick it up. Jesus, because of the loss of his cousin, because of this hero of the faith, John the Baptist, was executed, murdered really. Because of that, he was going to get alone with his disciples and just hang out, spend some time alone. But the crowd, the people, they wanted to hear more of Jesus' teachings, so they followed him to that desolate place. And it points out 5,000 men were there, but we know they're counting heads of family. There are also women and children. It could have been up to 25,000 people who followed Jesus. So Jesus, all day long, he taught these people. He encouraged these people. He dialogued with these people. And then the day was kind of like right now. It's starting to come to a close. The sun was about ready to go down. So the disciples, in a good kind of way, you can kind of think about it, we need to send them out so they can go and get something to eat, get some housing. We're in this desolate place. And Jesus says, no, we're going to feed them. What do we have? What do we have? And as we know, they had 5 loaves and 2 fish, not very much. And so Jesus, through the disciples actually, if you read the context there, he allowed them to do the miracle of the feeding of the 25,000, as it were. A great miracle. But then he sent them out across the sea again, across that big lake. And as they're about halfway across the lake, Jesus was up by himself praying, and he came walking on the water. As he came walking on the water, they were terrified. But not only were they terrified, I also want to point out that they were petrified. It says in Mark 6 and verse 52. Start back in verse 51. And he, that is Jesus, got into the boat with them, and the wind ceased. And they were utterly astonished, for they did not understand about the loaves, that is the feeding of the 25,000. But their hearts were hardened. Interesting, as they witnessed all of these things, as they were sent out by Jesus and did those great miracles, as they saw Jesus miraculously feed the 25,000, as Jesus walked on the water, as he made the wind cease, it says, yet they did not understand all of this. They did not understand the supernatural nature of Jesus Christ. because their hearts are hardened. Literally petrified, calloused, as it were. They were like an old dog not being able to learn new tricks. They were closed-minded to the reality of who Jesus was and is doing. The word hardened is literally poros, which just means stone, marble, hard. They had a lack of understanding, and this lack of understanding, in the context you read other verses as well, means they had a sense of rebellion. They saw this. They didn't soften their hearts to the truth and the reality of who Jesus is. And we might think, wow, those disciples, funny disciples, can't believe that. But how often have I read the scriptures and I see the reality of who God is and what he can do? Not just out there, but with me personally, and in a sense of rebellion. I still have fear. I still have worry. I still have a calloused heart in the reality of who Jesus really is. So I want to encourage you to allow Jesus to come and to circumcise your heart, to make it soft, so that you can receive the realities of who he is and to live by those fresh realities. Well, thank you for joining me.